everyone, welcome to our channel Knowledge Hawk. Friends, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for the latest update. Today we're gonna start with managerial economics, and that is your class 7. And we had completed your class 6, where we had completed your unit 1 and unit 2 and unit 3. And even though we had started with unit 4, hopefully in this class we'll complete your unit 4 and as well as unit 5 as well. So first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. Now in the same cases that what we had talked about it, and where we have to talk about the things that we have to go through with that as well. So in the same cases here that PRS to be follows, and that will start with that we had degree the third, first and degree discrimination, second degree discrimination and the third degree discrimination we had done in the last class. So please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel. Now we'll discuss this another question of the session here, and the first question here, that is, what are duopoly solvent feature of price determination and various market condition as well. So that has been asked of 10 marks in 17-18, which is also a very important question. So repeat the question is that what are the duopoly solvent feature of price determination and various market conditions. So the question that we'll talk about it, which is solvent features of duopoly. So the solvent features of duopoly that we'll talk about it in this, the first we have is your interdependence here, and that is your interdependence. So in the interdependence here, the most important feature of oligopoly is interdependence in a decision making of a few firms which comprises the industry, and this is because when the number of the competitors is few and any change in price, output or product by a firm, it will have direct effect on the fortunes of the rivals, and who will then realize that by changing their own prices, output or advertising the technique as the case may be. It is therefore clear that an oligopolistic firm that must consider not only the market demand for its product but also the reactions of the other firm in the industry to any major decision it takes. The second we'll talk about it, which is we have is your importance of advertising and selling cost. Importance of advertising and selling cost. So in this, that a direct effect of interdependence of oligopolist is that the firm have to employ various aggressive and defensive marketing weapons to gain a greater share in the market or to maintain their share. For this, that the firms have to incur a good deals of cost on advertising and the other measures of the sales promotions as well. Therefore, there is a great importance for advertising and selling cost in an oligopoly market. It is to be noted that the firm in such type of market avoid price cutting and try to compete on non-price basis, because if they start undercutting one another, a type of a price war will emerge, and which will drive a few of them out of the market, as customers will try to buy from the sellers selling at a cheapest price as well. This will talk about the another one, that is another one here, and in reference towards it, that is the third one, which is your group behavior. In the group behavior, that the theory of the oligopoly is the theory of the group behavior, not of mass or individual behavior, and assume the profit maximizing the behavior on oligopolist part that may not be very valid. There is no generally accepted theory of the group behavior. Do the members of the group agree to pull together in a promotions of the common interest, or will they fight to promote their individual's interest? Does the group possess any leader? If so, how does he get the other to follow him? And where there are some of the questions that need to be answered by the theory of the group behavior. But one thing is certain, that each oligopolist closely watches the business behavior of the other oligopolist in the industry, and the design his moves on the basis of some assumptions of how they behave or are likely to behave as well. The other we'll talk about it, which is your price and output decisions in an oligopolistic market. So where we have that is the sovereign features of duopoly. We have a three here, that is your interdependence, important of advertising and a selling cost, and of course third is your group behavior as well. Now we talk about the price and output decisions that in an oligopolistic market. So here that the price and the output decisions in an oligopolistic market here, in this, that because of the interdependence, an oligopolistic firm that cannot assume that its rival firm will keep their prices and quantities constant when it makes changes in its price and order or quality. When an oligopolistic firm changes its prices, its rival firm will retaliate or react and change their prices, which in turn would affect the demand of the former firm. Where therefore that an oligopolistic firm that cannot have sure and definite demand curve, since it keeps shifting as a rival change their prices in reaction to the price change made by it. So here that now when an oligopolist does not know his demand curve, what price and output he will fix, that cannot be ascertained by an economic analysis as well. So however, the economists have established a number of the price output models for the oligopoly market, that is depending upon the behavior pattern of the other firm in the market as well. The other question has been, that is a short answer type question which can be asked of 2 marks. 1617 it been asked here, that is the write down the characteristics of monopolistic competition. So the characteristics of monopolistic competition. So here that what we'll talk about it, which is the characteristics of monopolistic competition here. In this, that the features, we can say that the characteristic of monopolistic competition or features of monopolistic competitions we have. The first we have is a feature between many producers, that is your competition between many producers. The second is that free entry to new producers. The third is the product are differentiated. The fourth is every firm has limited control on market. The fifth is that sellers need to advertise and consider the rival prices. And the sixth is that every firm decides its own policy as well. The other question has been asked, state the factor that decide the market performance. Market performance that decide the factors that we'll talk about it. So here we have 4, which is the 5, that is the first we have efficiency in production. The second we have efficiency in distribution. The third we have fixation of prices. The fourth we have is your, that is product performance. And the fifth we have is improved technology. Now we'll talk about the another one, that is which factor influence the market structure. In this, that the market structure that is influenced by the following factors. So factors influence the market structure. We'll talk about it. Factors influence market structure. So the factors influence the market structures here, which is that is, there are 4. The market structure is to be influenced by the following 4 factors. The first is degree of seller concentration. The second is degree of buyer concentration. We have is your degree of cell concentration. The second we have is your degree of buyer concentration. And the third we have is your the degree of product differentiation as well. And that is the fourth we have here the conditions of entry to the market. Now we'll go ahead with other question that has been arise here. That is the another one is to list the types of monopoly. So the various types of monopoly that we'll discuss here. In the various types of monopoly that what we have to talk about it, and which is your the first we have is your national monopoly. The second we have public utility monopoly. The third we have is your that is your fiscal monopoly. And the fourth we have legal monopoly. And of course the fifth one we have that is voluntary monopoly through combination. These were the types of monopoly here. Now we'll go ahead with other one, and that what we have to discuss the another question, which is list the conditions of perfect competition. That what we have to talk about it. And the condition for the perfect competition we have conditions of perfect competition. So in this the conditions of a perfect competition we have, the first we have is your large number of buyers and sellers. The second we have is your a homogeneous product. The third is your perfect knowledge. And the fourth we have is your free of entry and exit. Now we'll talk about the question, which is your what are imperfect competition types. So imperfect competition type, that what we have to discuss here. So imperfect competitions type that we have, which is we have three types, that is monopoly. Second is oligopoly. The third we have is your monopolistic competition. Now we'll talk about the other one, that is the another one is, and that is give features of monopoly, or what is monopoly market. So the features of monopoly that we'll discussed here. So in the terms of the features of monopoly, that the first is that the one seller or producer, no free entry to new seller, no close substitute of product, monopolists decide the pricing and service condition, monopolist enjoy the supernormal profit, monopolist need to brand his product and to advertise as well. The other question we have is give a feature of oligopoly. Feature of oligopoly. So here in the feature of oligopoly, here the feature of oligopoly, there are many that we'll discuss one by one. The first feature of oligopoly is the few producers in the market. The second feature, the product may be homogeneous or differentiated. The third feature, that seller has to consider rivals policy of pricing. The fourth feature is limited entry for the seller. The fifth feature, that consumers get the benefit of competition. And the sixth feature of oligopoly is that sellers need to advertise and consider the rivals' quality and prices. Now we'll go ahead with other one, that is to give feature of monopolistic competition as well. So the feature of here, that is, so here that we'll talk about it, which is your the features of monopolistic competition. So here in this, that the first is your competition between many producers. The second is that free entry to new product. The third is the product are differentiated. The fourth is every firm has limited control on market. The fifth feature of monopolistic competition, we have that the sellers need to advertise and consider the rivals prices. And the sixth features of monopolistic competition is that every firm decides its own policy as well. The other question has been arise is to define price mechanism, or they can ask you how pricing of a product is affected. So the price mechanism, we'll talk about it here. In the term of the price mechanism, that the price mechanism, the system in the market economy whereby changes in price in response that we have here in the response to changes in demand and supply have the effect of making demand equals to supply as well. Now we'll go ahead with other one, which is what is monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competitions here, that has been asked in 1718, that is what is monopolistic competition here. In this, the monopolistic competition, we'll talk about it, that is monopolistic market structure that refers to the market where there are many sellers but each has unique product to sell, and there are all monopolists for the supply of their own product particular, and but they are all in competition with other suppliers of very similar sorts of product. That is, the car industry is a good example, and each car maker sells a unique vehicle. No one car make the offer exactly the same of the same type of a car as well. And the monopolistic competition is similar to oligopoly, and that the distinction is that in monopolistic competition there are many producers as compared to the few in oligopoly as well. So here we'll end up with this unit 4. Now we'll continue with unit 5. As I told you, we will be ending up with unit 4 here, and you will starting with a unit 5th as well in this class only. And hopefully if it is not longer than class, so we'll complete the unit 5th as well here, and where we can say that we can complete managerial economics whole subject here. And after that we'll start with the quantitative aptitude. So the unit 5th we have, which is your nature and characteristics of Indian economy. So the unit 5th is your nature and characteristics of Indian economy here. In this, that is the unit 5th, and we'll start with this. So here in the Indian economy, we have to consider about many of the questions which we, because in this that many of the question has been asked here. So the first topic we'll discuss of the unit 5th, we have that write a short note on Indian economy. The name of subject is unit as well. That is, what do you write a short note on Indian economy, or write a what do you understand by Indian economy? So in the Indian economy, in the terms of Indian economy here, that the economy of India is currently the world's fourth largest in terms of real GDP, which is purchasing power parity, after the USA, China, and Japan, and the second fastest growing major economy in the world after China here. India's annual growth rate is above 8%, while the China is about 10%. India is developing country, and our economy is a mixed economy here. In a mixed economy, the public sector coexists with the private sector, as well as Dadabhai Naroji is known as the father of the Indian polities and economics, and he is also called the grand old man of India as well. In his book that Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, he describes his theory, that is the economic exploitations of India by the British. His theory is popularly called the economic drain theory. Brain drain means talented men leaving their own country because of the lack of opportunity and facilities, and going to foreign countries for the better conditions. The basic features of the Indian economy we have. The basic features, we'll talk about it. So the basic features of Indian economy we have. The first is the low per capita income. The second is inequalities in income distribution. The third is that predominance of agriculture, which is more than 2/3 of the India's working population is engaged in agriculture, but in USA only 2% of the working population is engaged in agriculture. The fourth we have is the feature, that is rapidly growing population. The fifth is that the chronic unemployment, which the person is considered employed if he or she works for 273 days of a year for 8 hours every day. So that is chronic unemployment. And the sixth is that low rate of capital formation. The seventh feature we have here is dualistic nature of economy, and that is a feature of a modern economy as well as the traditional as well. The eighth is that the mixed economy, and the ninth is that follows labor intensive technique, that has been a feature of individual Indian economy here. Now we'll go ahead with other question, that is concept of LPG, and that is to explain the concept of LPG. In the term of concept of LPG here, the full form of the LPG, that is liberalization, privatizations, and globalization. This stands for LPG here. In this that model, liberalization, privatization, and globalization, LPG model. And LPG stands for, as I told you, about liberation, privatization, and globalization model. And this model worked wonders for India, and we have more sustainable growth than any other developing economy as well. So here in the same cases that we'll talk about it in the globalization model, and this model worked wonders for India, and we have more sustainable growth than any other developing economy as well. So we'll discuss one by one in a detail for the liberalization here. In the liberalization means the elimination of a state control over the economic activities. It implies a greater autonomy to the business enterprises in a decision making and a removal of the government interfaces. It was believed that the market forces of the demand and the supply that would automatically operate to bring about greater efficiency, and the economy that would recover. This was to be done internally by introducing the reforms in the real and financial sector of the economy, and externally by relaxing state control on foreign investments and trades as well. We'll talk about the second one, which is your privatization. In this privatization, The privatization is defined as when the control of the economic is shifted from public to the private hand. Then the situation is known as privatization as well. The third in this only that India is leading towards privatization from the government's Raj, and as the result it leads to the development of the country 500 faster than previous. Privatization used as process under which the state assets transfer to the private sector as well. In the privatization that can be done into the two forms, and that has been denationalizations and that is investment as well. In the denationalization, that in this transfer of the state ownership of the asset to the private sector, which is your 100% transfer of the ownership occur in this. The first is the second is your disinvestment, that's selling of the shares of the state owned enterprises to the private sector. Disinvestment is the denaturalizations of the less than 100% ownership that transfer to the state of the private sector as well. Liberalization that tells the direction of the reforms, but how it will achieve was shown by the privatization. Privatization showed the path of reforms as well. Talk about the third one, which is your globalization as well. In this, that the globalization describes the process by which regional economies, societies and the cultures have become integrated through a global network of communication, transportations and trade. The term is sometimes used to refer specifically to economic globalization, the integration of the national economies into the international economies through the trade and foreign direct investment, capital flow and migration that is, and the spread of technology as well. However, the globalization is usually recognized as being driven by the combinations of economic, technological, socio-culture and political and biological factor as well. We'll go ahead with other one, that is the another one is that the concept of the globalization that has been explained by the IMF, which is International Monetary Fund, as the growing economic interdependence of the country worldwide through the increasing volume and variety of the border transactions in the goods and the services and of international capital flow, and also through the more rapid and widespread diffusions of technology as well. Now we may connect all the three terms, that the LPG, that the process of liberalization shows the movement of the economy towards a market economy. Privatization is the path or the route through which it will travel to realize the ultimate goal, and that is globalization here. Now we'll go ahead with other one, that what we have to discuss is to elementary concepts of the national income. The other question has been asked is explain what is national income, briefly explain components of national income and their percentage share in the total national income. So first we'll discuss by one. The first is your national income here. First we'll let you know that what is national income. In the national income, in the terms of it, that the national income is the total annual value of goods and services that produced by the country, measured in the terms of the money. National income states aggregate economic activity. If I'm talking about the definitions about it, that the National Income Committee defined national income as a national income estimates measures that the volume of the commodity and services that turned out during a given period counted without duplication. National income is the total flow of the wealth produced, distributed, consumed and saved in the country. It is expressed in the terms of money. National income is measured on the annual basis and it includes all goods and services having exchange value. National income has two phases which are interrelated. They are production and distribution. The flow of the national income is explained by a model of functioning of circular flow of economic activity. Now we'll talk about it, which is your components of national income. So the components of national income that we had talked about it in this, that they are the major components of the national income that will be are as follows. The first we have is your, which is wages and salaries. Wages or salaries. The second we have is your provident fund and profession tax. Provident fund and profession tax. The third we have rent from properties. the fourth we have here is your, that is in the representation which we'll talk about it, and that is in the terms of it here. The fourth we have is your interest. The fifth we have is your share of corporate profits. That is your corporate profits. So that shows the components of the national income and the percentage share in the total national income as well. With the national income, with the components as I told you about, the wages and the salary, and that is your provident fund and the profession tax, rent, interest, and corporate profits as well. And that is wages and the salary, that shares 60%, and provident fund and the profession tax is 13%, rent is 0.3%, and interest is your 8.7%. Corporate profit is your 18% here. This is the component of national income. So the component of the national income are also called as the factor earning. Now we'll go ahead with other question, and that we have is your explain circular flow of income. Circular flow of income here. In this, that the complete economy comprises many millions of individual economic units, household, firms, and department of central and local government. The individual decision determine the total spending, total income, and its total level of productions of goods and services. To understand the nature of the macroeconomy, and isolated economy is to be considered, that is by ignoring the government sector and foreign trade. Here we see two of the main sectors of the macroeconomics economy, and the households and the firms. These sectors are identified not by who they are but what they do actually. That is, the firm produces and households consume. Firms are the producers of the goods and services. They are also the employ of the labor and the other factors of production. Household, which is the word we use for individuals, are the consumers of the goods and services, and they are also suppliers of the labor and various other factors of production. In this, that there is an inner flow of the various flow of income between these two groups. The households also own the factor of production. In order to produce, the firm must buy factor services from the household. In return of the factor services, the firm pay household wages, rent, interest, and of course profit. And the size of these payments that will give us the cost of producing, and therefore the value of the national income as well. Which we will talk about some of the households and the firms, that represent simple classification of the different transactions between households and the firms within an isolated economy. That we have the household, in household that own factors of production which they supply to firm. In the firm, use factors of productions by household to produce goods and services. In household, receives income from the firms in exchange of supplying factors of production. In firms, pay money to household for using the factor of production. In household, spend on goods and services produced by firm. In firm, sells goods and services to household. This is the transactions by household and firm. In the same case, that the household own the factors of production, that is your labor, as input to the production process, rent, or receives in exchange or in that is of for wages. In above table, the first row shows that the household supply factors and to the firm which are using the factor to produce the goods and services, and the second row that shows the corresponding payments in the form of the wages, shares, interest, rent, like labor, capital, and land as well, by the firm for the supply of the factor services as well. With the conclusions here, that the third row that's showing that households using their income to buy goods and services from the firm and thereby giving firm the money to pay for the factor services used in the productions, the overall transaction between the household and the firm is shown. This diagram is known as circular flow of income, and the inner loop shows that the transfer of the real resources household supply that the services of the factor of production to the firm who uses these factor to produce goods and services for the household as well. We'll talk about it where that is we have the goods and the services that goes towards the household, then the services of the productive factor, then firm, and then same case for the spending on the goods on the services that goes towards the firm and then goes the factors income and the household as well. These were the circular flow of income. The outer loop shows that the corresponding flow of the payment and the firms that pay factors income to the household but receives revenue from the household spending on goods and services that the firm produces. Since all the payments are the counterparts of the real source, and if assuming all the payment that must be spent on purchasing the real resource, and therefore the factors income must equals to the household spending on some one's incomes in some one's expenditures as well. In the same cases we'll talk about it, that is the inflations and business cycles that we'll talk about here, and which is in that is the question has been arise, define inflation, explain different categories of inflation, state causes of inflation as well. So let's go ahead with the discussion about inflation. In the term of inflation here, that inflation means change in the level of prices, which denotes the rate of the growth or decline of the price level as well. In this, that the rate of the inflations is the rate of the change of the general price level and is measured as like rate of inflation equals to price level of current year minus price level of previous year upon price level of previous year into 100, so that it goes ahead. The price level is measured as the weighted average of the goods and services in the economy. Now we'll talk about the types of inflation. In the terms of the types of inflations here, that according to the severity of inflation, it can be classified into three categories. That is the inflation type, which is the inflation has been divided into three, which is the moderate inflation, galloping inflations, and hyperinflation as well. That is the inflation types as well, that I will talk about it. Now we'll go ahead with the detailed here, and that is in the terms of it which we have, and we'll talk about the one by one. The first we have is your moderate inflation. In a moderate inflation, that the price rises slowly and the rise in the price that can be predicted. The inflation rate is very small or single digit. In moderate inflation, people can trust money because there is a small change in prices and that is relatively stable, and people are willing to undergo long-term contract for trades as well. In the same case, the second is the galloping inflation. In the terms of galloping inflations, when the inflation is too high, that is when inflation rate is 2 or 3 digit like 20, 80, 100 or 200, the series economic distortions are expected under the galloping inflations here, and that is where in this case that under the inflation money that loses its value and value of holding money is reduced. People do not want to hold surplus money and they hold only minimum base amount of money and which is required for day-to-day transaction as well. The third we have is your hyperinflation. In hyperinflation, this is the most extreme case of inflation. The market economy become most disastrous, and because price rise by millions or even a trillion% year per year. And that is, however, the situations arises rarely, that is very severe drought, war, etc. The other we'll talk about is your causes of inflation here. Causes of inflation, in terms of it, that the causes of inflation, there are the various causes of inflation, and some important causes are mentioned here. The first, when demand of any commodity or the services increases as the supplies is less, and the obvious consequences is increase in price level, and when the basic cost of the product increases due to the rise in the raw material price and in wages. Severe drought, war, industrial, that is your unrest, etc. as well. We'll go ahead with other one, that is the national income and measurement, that we'll discuss here one by one. So here we have so that the question has been asked, explain various methods of measuring national income. So that is various methods of measuring national income. So in this various methods of national measuring national income here, in this that what we'll talk about it, and the question has been arise that the national income is a measure of the total flow of earning of the factor owner through the production of the goods and services. In a simple words, it is the total amount of income earned by the aggregate output. The total value of the level of aggregate output is called gross national product, or we can say that GNP. That is, your GNP is a measure of the total market value of all final goods and services and currently produced by all the citizens of the nation within a period, usually a year here. There are mainly three approaches to measure GNP. So let's go ahead here for the three that what we have to talk about in the detail here. The first we have is your, which is output or value added approach. So output or a value added approach, in this, that the total value of all final goods and services, that is output, that can be found out by adding up the total values of outputs produced at different stages of the production. This method, it to avoid the so-called double counting or an overestimations of GNP. However, there are the difficulties in the collections of calculations of data obtained. The caution should be taken to take final goods, not intermediate good, as it will result in the double counting as well. The second we'll talk about it, which is your the expenditure approach. In the expenditure approach here, that the amount of the expenditure refers to all spending on currently produced final goods and services only in an economy. In an economy, there are three main agencies which buy goods and services, and these are household firms and the government. In the economics, we use the following terms, which is C, I and G. The C is your private consumption expenditures of all household, where I is the investment expenditures of all the firms, and the G is your government consumption expenditures of all local government as well. In the economy, that the entire output which is produced in a year is not fully consumed, and that is in the same case by that economy, as some goods are exported, and in the similar way that the domestic consumption expenditure that may also be include imports as well. In the same references, that hence under the expenditures approach to measure the GNP, the value of the export must be added to C and I and G, where the values of the imports must be deducted from the above amount here. Now finally, that GNP at the market price, that what we'll find it our number where we go ahead. So GNP at market price, which is C plus I plus G plus X M. So that is where X minus M, that exports and import here. Now for the third one we'll talk about it, which is your gross domestic product. Gross domestic product, which is we say that is your GDP. In the gross domestic product, that is GDP, we can only find the amount of output which are produced within the domestic boundary of an economy in a specific period, say a year here. In that, to arrive at the value of GNP, net factor income earned from the abroad, which is NFIA, and that has to be added to the GDP. Income from the abroad, that we'll talk about it. So income from abroad is the income earned by the local citizens from the provisions of factor services abroad. The other is income to abroad, that is the income earned by the foreign citizen from of the provisions of the factor service locally. The net factor income from abroad is equals to the income earned from abroad, and that is the income sent to abroad here, where we can say that in the same cases we have, which is your that is the net factor income that from abroad, and that is equals to here, that is income earned from abroad minus that is income sent to abroad here. So that is here, and then for the GNP, if I'm talking about that, GNP equals to GDP plus net factor income earned from abroad. So this is that GNP is equals to GDP and then plus net factor income earned from abroad as well. So now we'll go ahead with other one, that is another question. Discuss the problem for calculating national income. So we'll discuss that problem for calculating national income. So the problems for calculating the national income here, in this, that the measurement of the national income encounters many problems, and the problem of the double counting, though there are some corrective measures, it is difficult to eliminate the double counting altogether, and there are many such problems, and the following are of some of them. The first we have is your black money. In the terms of black money, that the illegal activities like smuggling and unreported incomes due to the tax evasion and the corruption are outside the GDP estimate, where thus parallel economy poses a serious hurdles to accurate the GDP that estimate, and the GDP does not take into account the parallel economy as the transactions of black money that are not registered. The second is your non-monetization. In the non-monetization here, in most of the rural economy, that the considerable portions of the transactions occurs informally, and they are called as non-monetization economy, that is the barter economy, and that the presence of such non-monetary economy is developing in developing countries keeps the GDP estimates at a lower level than the actual. The third we have is your growing service sector. Growing service sector. In growing service sector here, in this, that in a recent year that the service sector is growing faster than that of the agriculture and the industrial sector. Here many new services like business process outsourcing, which is BPO, have come up. However, that is the value addition in the legal consultancy, the health services, financial and the business services, and the service sector as a whole is not based on accurate reporting, and hence underestimating that you are underestimated in the national income measures as well. The fourth we have is your household services. In the term of household services, if that what we'll have to talk about it here, in this the household services that the national income accounts do not include the care economy, domestic work and housekeeping. Most of the such valuable work rendered by our women at home does not enter a national accounting. Now we'll go ahead with other one, and that what we have is your that is the social services. That is your fifth one. In the social services here, in this it ignores voluntary and charitable work as it is unpaid. Now we'll be having a sixth one, which is that we have is environmental cost. In the environmental cost, that the national income estimation does not account for the environmental costs that incurred in the production of goods. For example, the land and the water degradations accompanying the green revolution in India. Similarly, the climate change that is caused by the use of the fossil fuels. And however, in a recent years, green GDP is being calculated where the environmental costs are deducted from the GDP value and the green GDP is arrived at. Now we'll go ahead with other one, that what we have to discuss is your business cycle. In the terms of the business cycle that we have to go through with that, and the question has been arise, explain business cycle, elaborate different phases of business cycle in India. So that we'll talk about it. First we'll discuss about business cycle. In the business cycle, that the business cycle or economic cycle refers to the fluctuations of economic activity about its long-term growth trend, and the cycles involves shifts over time between the period of relatively rapid growth of output, and that is the recovery and a property that your prosperity, and the period of relative that is stagnations or decline, contraction or recession as well. These fluctuations are often measured using the real gross domestic product. Despite being named cycle, these fluctuations in economic growth and decline do not follow a purely mechanical or predictable periodic pattern as well. Business cycles are a type of fluctuations found in the aggregate economic activity of nations that organize their work mainly in a business enterprises. A cycle consists of expansions occurring in and about the same time in many economic activities, that is followed by a similarly general recessions, contractions and revivals which merge into the expansions phase of the next cycle. The sequence of the changes is recurrent but not periodic. In durations, business cycles vary from more than 1 year to 10 years or 12 years. They are not divisible into the shorter cycle of the similar character with amplitude approximating their own as well. In the same cases that a business cycle is not a regular, predictable or repeating phenomena like the swing of the pendulum of a clock. Its timing is random and to a large degree that is unpredictable. Now we'll talk about a business cycle that is identified as a sequence of 4 phases. So we'll talk about phases of business cycle. So there are many phases, but we'll talk about phases of business cycle in India. So here that what we had talked about it. So in the same cases, there are many more things that we have to conclude here. Where in this that the phases of the business cycle in India here that we have. So the phases of business cycle in India that we have here, and that's what we have to talk about it. So here we have a business cycle that can be identified as a sequence of the 4 phases. The first we have is your revival or recovery, The second is your expansion, third is recessions, and fourth is contraction. So we'll go ahead with this, and so that you will be able to understand what it is all about. So the first is your revival, recovery. The second is your expansion. The third we have is your recession, and the fourth we have is your contraction. So in this, so here in this that we have, will be drawing phases of business cycle graph here, so that you will be understood about it. So this is a line, here it is all about. So this is a property that prosperity recessions. This is your above normal. This is the depressions, below the normal recovery here. So here we have this, and that is the phases of, we can say that this is the phases of business cycle. So in this phases of business cycle, now we'll go ahead with the detailed about it, which is, we'll talk about the expansion here in a detail. In the expansion, that symbolizes the upswing and the prosperity in economic activities. Here recovery, you know very well, okay. And that the expansion begin as entrepreneurial experts that rise in the profits in near future. Expectations of the profit induces the investment in economy, and this investments begets employment and demand for the raw material, which further increases the purchasing power of the people, which results in increasing market demand, which further induces the investment in economy, and that the cycle continues here. The rise in the price is particular phenomena of expansion, as increases in supply that could not match the increase in demand. Thus, the gap between the demand and the supply increases, which results in the increase in price. During the expansion period, bank deposits and supply of currency also increases. The next we have is a recession. In a recession occurs when a decline, or however the initiated or that instigated, that occurs in some measures of aggregate economic activity, and that cause cascading declines in other key measures of activity. The Business Cycle Dating Committee at the National Bureau of the Economic Research, which is NBER, that provide a better way to find out if there is a recession is taking place. This committee determines that the amount of the business activity in the economy by looking at things like employment, industrial production, real income, and a wholesale retail sales as well. They defined here, that is, they define the recessions as the time when business activity has reached its peak and starts to fall until the time when business activity bottoms out. When the business activity starts to rise again, it's called an expansionary period. By this definition, the average recessions that last about a year as well. The other we will be having is your depression or the contraction that we have. In the depression and contraction, a depression is a severe downturn in the economic activity, and they are considerably the worse than recessions. Depression is a phase of extreme that your pessimism, and that entrepreneurs do not have any hope profit. In fact, there is a fear of severe losses in the future as well, that they not only suspend any new investment, but also try to liquidate present stock, and even to liquidate the fixed capital investment. In the depression, unemployment increases and demand decreases. One that could well imagine a period of a depressed economic activity that associate with falling output and employment, with unemployment climbing as well. In the same cases, now we'll discuss some of the students, there are the possibility that some of the students does not know about the recovery as well, so I will explain that as well, so that it will conclude in all. So in the recovery here, that at some point that the vicious cycle is broken at an analogous self-reinforcement, that your virtuous cycle begins with increase in the output, employment, and the income and sales feeding into the each other, and that is the hallmark of the business cycle recovery. And that the transition point that between the vicious and the virtuous cycle that mark the start and the end dates of the recession. The recovery gradually starts when prices stops falling, and some innovative and young entrepreneurs bring fresh investment. During the recovery, there is a correction of distortions in the cost-price relation. During this period, the cost of the capital is very low as financial institutions are in search of fresh investment, that is your lending opportunities. Sometime recovery is marked with rise all other new industry, and this boosts the investment in a traditional industry as well. Now we'll discuss some of the short answered possible question that they can ask you in the terms, but that is your what is GDP. In the GDP here, that is your, you know very well, that's your gross domestic product. In this gross domestic product, that what we had talked about it, which is the GDP considers only the marketed goods. If the cleaner is hired, their pay is included in GDP. If one does the work himself, it does not add to the GDP. Thus, much of the work done by the woman at home taking care of the children that aged and that codes etc., which is a care economy, is outside the GDP. The gross means depreciation, where wear and tear of the machinery in their use of the capital stock is not subtracted. If the depreciation is subtracted, it becomes net domestic product. At calculating the real GDP growth, inflation's adjusted GDP growth, and allows us to determine if the production increased or decreased regardless of changes in the inflations and purchasing the power of the currency as well. Now we'll go ahead with to define net national product, which is NNP. Net national product. In a production process, a country uses machines and equipment where there is a depreciations. We have to repair or replace the machinery. The expenses incurred for this are called depreciation expenditure. Now, the net national product, that is calculated by deducting the depreciation expenses from the gross national income, that is NNP is equals to GNP minus depreciation, where the national income is calculated by deducting the direct taxes. Just I write it the formula here so that you will be getting it out. So what we had discussed about, that is your GDP, and that now we'll discuss about NNP, which is your net national product, and that is NNP is equals to, that is GNP minus depreciation, because many of the students don't know about it, so that I will write it down here. In this, that the national income is calculated by deducting the indirect taxes from the net national product and adding subsidies. So national income, that is NI, is the NNP factor cost as well. Where in the same cases, now that NI, we will find out for the NI as well. So the NI is equals to NNP minus indirect tax plus subsidies. So the NI equals to the NNP minus indirect taxes and subsidies as well. So in this, that now we'll talk about it, what is per capita income. So the per capita income is also important. Per capita income. So in the per capita income here, that the per capita income is a per capita GDP, where the GDP divided by a mid-year population of the corresponding year. The growth of the GDP at a constant price, that shows an annual real growth. The real GDP capital per capita of an economy is often used as an indicator and of the average standard of living of individuals in that country, and the economic growth is therefore often seen as an indicating an increase in the average standard or living. The other we have is what is mean by gross national product, which is your GNP. So the gross that we have gross national product here, and that is the gross national product. GNP is a value of all final goods and services that produced within a nation in a given year, plus income earned by its citizens abroad, minus like income earned by the foreign from domestic production as well. The fact book, following the current practice, uses the GDP rather than GNP to measure the national production as well. However, the user must realize that in a certain countries, that the net remittances from the citizen working abroad, that may be important to the national well-being as well. GNP equals GDP plus net property income from abroad. Now the other question has been arise, what is inflation? In the inflation, as we had talked about it, what is inflation? So inflation is an increase in the price of bunch of goods and services that provides the Indian economy, An income in inflation figure occurs when there is an increase in the average level of the price in goods and services. Inflations happen when there are fewer goods and more buyers. This will result in increase in the price of goods since there is more demand and the less supply of good as well. The other we have what is deflation. So in the deflation here, that the deflation is the continuous degree in prices of goods and services. Deflations occur when the inflation's rate becomes negative, that is below zero, and stays there for the longer period. So here we will ending up with managerial economics. We had covered up unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4 and unit 5 in the respective manner. So here you can go through with the playlist. And other than the managerial economics, we are dealing with the computer graphics, which is also near about to complete. And we had completed the PPL, we had completed data warehousing and data mining. Even though we had covered up in this class, we had covered up economics as well, and in the next coming class we'll cover up the computer graphic as well. We are dealing with the reasoning as well, where we had completed the verbal reasoning, and then we had started with non-verbal reasoning as well. In the non-verbal reasoning we are dealing with a serious topic, and that will go ahead with more than 1,000 questions, and hopefully in the coming classes you will be ended that as well, and we'll start with another topic as well. In terms of managerial economics, we had covered up the unit 1, where we had covered up the topics, that is introductions and engineering economics and the demand analysis. This is the name of the unit. We had covered up the meaning and nature of the economics, the relation between science, engineering, technology and economics, meaning of demand, determinants of demand, shifts in demand, law of demand, price elasticity of demand and types, income elasticity, cross price elasticity, determinants of elasticity, uses of importance of elasticity as well. In unit 2, we had covered up the concept of supply, which is law of supply, factor affecting supply, elasticity of supply. In demand forecasting, that we had done introduction, meaning and forecasting, methods or techniques of demand forecasting, criteria for the good demand forecasting for a new product. Unit 3rd, we had done your cost analysis, which is introduction, type of cost, cost output relationship, cost function, cost output relationship in the short run, and cost output relationship in a long run, short run and a long run, break even analysis, production functions, laws of variable proportion, laws of return, economic of scale, internal and external. The other we have is your unit 4, which is your market structure, which we had completed. That market structure, perfect competition, imperfect competition, monopolistic, oligopoly, duopoly, solvent features of price determinants and the various market structures conditions as well. The unit 5th we had completed, that is the nature and the characteristics of the Indian economy, concept of LPG, elementary concepts of national income, inflations and business cycle, concept of NI and measurement, meaning of inflation, types of causes, phases of business cycle, investment decisions for boosting economy, national income, and for your capital income, that we had covered up. So first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. You will be finding out each and every video here in the playlist. You can go through with that and you will find out each every video. Thank you, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion on a comment box. Thank you.